When Yo Gotti built CMG, he didn't just create a record label. He built a dynasty. But now, the dynasty is being tested in a way no one saw coming. His mother, the matriarch who's been quietly guarding the empire since day one, has stepped back into the picture with one demand. She wants to meet GloRilla face to face. Not Moneybag Yo, not ESTG, GloRilla. And that choice has the entire industry whispering. Is this about loyalty? Is it about trust? Or is it a test that could decide the future of CMG itself? When we talk about Yo Gotti, we're not just talking about a rapper, we're talking about a man who built a dynasty with CMG. But this latest twist isn't about contracts or chart-topping hits. It's about family, trust, and the roots that hold everything together. Word is, Gotti's mother has stepped back into the spotlight, but she isn't returning quietly. Her one request? She wants a face-to-face sit-down with GloRilla, CMG's rising star, before she fully settles back into the fold. At first glance, that might sound unusual, even dramatic. But if you look deeper, it's about more than just introductions. It's about loyalty, security, and making sure the future of CMG stands on solid ground. To understand why this matters, you have to understand how Gotti moves. He doesn't just scoop up artists for a quick paycheck. His label, Collective Music Group, runs more like a family tree than a business. That's why artists like Moneybag Yo, ESTG, and GloRilla aren't just seen as. They are part of a movement. And at the root of that movement is Yo Gotti's mother. She's not a name you see in headlines, she's not dropping verses or making public appearances, but her presence has always been part of the story. From the very beginning, she's been in the background, watching her son climb from the streets of Memphis into a position of power that most artists only dream of. She saw the long nights when nobody was listening, the risks he took when every dollar mattered, and the moments when it looked like the dream might collapse before it ever took off. She also saw the victories, the radio play, the deals, the shows, the slow but steady transformation of a local kid into a national figure. And through it all, like any mother, she remained protective. Protective not just of her son, but of the empire he's managed to carve out. For her, it isn't just about music or money, it's about legacy. She understands that every decision Gotti makes doesn't just affect him, it ripples out across the family, across the label, and even across the culture. That's why her re-entry into his world is not something that can be brushed off as casual. When she steps back into the picture, it carries weight. Her presence sends a message that goes deeper than any press release or flashy CMG signing. It's a reminder that beneath the logos, the contracts, and the headlines, there's still a family foundation. The music business is notorious for tearing people apart, for turning friends into enemies and families into strangers. Yet, Gotti's mother showing up again signals something different, that family still matters at the heart of the CMG empire. To really understand why her return is so significant, you have to understand how Yo Gotti has always operated. CMG has never been just a label. It's been structured more like a family tree, where loyalty and trust are valued as much as chart performance. That's why artists like Moneybag Yo, ESTG, and GloRilla aren't seen as just seen as. They are viewed as branches of a larger movement. Gotti doesn't sign people simply to expand his roster. He brings in those he believes can strengthen the family. And if CMG is a family, then Gotti's mother is like the matriarch. She's not making the business calls, but her presence sets a tone. She represents continuity, a living reminder of where Gotti came from and why he built what he built. When she steps in, it's a signal to everyone inside the circle that loyalty is not just a buzzword, it's a principle that started at home. Her watchful eye also adds another layer of accountability. For the artists under CMG, it means they aren't just dealing with a CEO, they are part of a family where trust must be earned. That can be intimidating, especially for newcomers who might feel like they are being evaluated not just on their music, but on their character. Yet at the same time, it reinforces the idea that being part of CMG means something deeper. It's not just a deal, it's an invitation into a legacy. This is why her return resonates so strongly. In an industry where labels often feel cold and transactional, where artists can be dropped the second the numbers dip, CMG is attempting to embody something different. It's about creating an environment where the artists feel supported the way family members do. And with Gotti's mother back in the fold, that sense of family isn't just a metaphor, it's literal. Still, her presence isn't without tension. For someone like Gotti's mom, stepping back into her son's empire means weighing not just business decisions but personal dynamics. She's seen firsthand how success can attract opportunists, how fame can distort relationships, and how quickly trust can be broken. Her instinct to protect isn't rooted in paranoia, it's born from experience. When she asks to meet certain people face to face, or when she insists on reading someone's energy before fully embracing them, it's not about control. It's about ensuring her son's legacy isn't compromised by the wrong influences. To the outside world, that might look dramatic, but in the context of hip-hop, where betrayal stories are as common as success stories, it makes sense. The higher the empire rises, the more important it becomes to guard the gates. And no one guards the gates quite like a mother who's been there since the foundation was first laid. Her re-entry also holds symbolic weight for Gotti himself. It's a reminder that no matter how high he climbs, no matter how many platinum records he earns or artists he signs, his roots are still tied to the lessons and values his mother instilled. It's grounding. For a man who has turned himself into a mogul, that grounding force is essential. At the same time, it reshapes the perception of CMG in the public eye. Fans don't just see a label, they see a dynasty with real ties, real stakes, and real human connections. That's powerful branding, not the kind you can buy with marketing dollars, but the kind that comes from authenticity. So when Gotti's mom says, "I'm back," it's not just a casual return. It's a signal to the entire industry. It tells the artists, the fans, and even the competitors that CMG is not just about contracts and hits. It's about family, legacy, and protecting what has been built from the ground up. In a business that often forgets its roots, her presence is a reminder that CMG still knows where it came from, and that family remains at the core of everything. When Yo Gotti's mother makes a move, it's never without meaning. Her return to the picture comes with expectations, with conditions, and one condition in particular has everyone talking. Insiders say she told Gotti straight up, "If I'm coming back, I need to meet GloRilla face to face." Now pause on that for a second. Out of all the people around him, business partners, industry connections, even the other artists on CMG, she singled out GloRilla. That choice speaks volumes. Some might take it as shade, like she's questioning Glo's loyalty or trying to test her. But look at it another way, GloRilla isn't just any artist on the roster. She's the face of the new CMG wave. Right now, GloRilla is the one pulling headlines, rocking stages, collecting nominations, and turning raw Memphis energy into mainstream success. For Gotti's mother, meeting her isn't about formality, it's about looking the future of the label straight in the eye. This isn't just business. It's personal. She wants to know who's standing beside her son, who's truly carrying the family name, who belongs inside the empire. And let's be real, GloRilla represents more than hit records. She represents a cultural shift. The moment she blew up with that unapologetic Memphis sound, CMG wasn't just a label with stars, it became the label breaking boundaries. She stepped into a space not everyone believed she could dominate, and she owned it. For Yo Gotti, signing her wasn't just a smart business move. It was a statement. Yo Gotti's decision to sign GloRilla wasn't just smart, it was fearless. And that kind of boldness comes with its own weight. Because every time Glo wins, every time she lights up a stage or lands a headline, the attention doesn't fall on her alone. It ripples outward, touching CMG, touching Gotti, and by extension, touching the family that's been there since day one. That's why his mother's request makes sense from her perspective. This isn't about clout or celebrity. It's about safeguarding the legacy she watched her son fight for. She doesn't just want secondhand stories about GloRilla. She wants to sit across from her, look her in the eye, and feel who this woman really is, the one shaping the future of what Gotti built. And here's where the family dynamic gets real. For Gotti, business and blood have never been separate lanes. They run together. His mother re-entering his life signals reconnect ion, healing, and the possibility of rebuilding old bonds. But her condition shows something deeper. This isn't just about home-cooked meals or family catch-ups. It's about making sure the empire doesn't get compromised. Every family, especially one tied to power, has that elder who steps in at key moments. The one who says, "Before we move forward, I need to know who's at the table." For Yo Gotti, that person is his mom. And right now, GloRilla is the one she needs to see for herself. When a mother says, "I need to know who's around you. I need to see if their energy matches their words," it's classic family wisdom. Only here, it's magnified, because we're not talking about a casual friendship. We're talking about a multi-million-dollar music dynasty, where every relationship has ripple effects. But here's where it gets messy. Rumors are swirling that GloRilla isn't just uneasy about the condition, she's upset, frustrated, and even suspicious. Word on the street is she believes Simmons, Yo Gotti's high-profile girlfriend, may have influenced his mother's stance against her. Think about that for a second. One of CMG's brightest stars now feels like forces inside the inner circle could be working against her. If there's any truth to this, the fallout won't just be personal. It could shake the entire image of CMG as a family-first brand. Because once the idea of trust cracks inside a crew that markets itself as blood-deep loyal, fans, artists, and the industry start to question everything. To grasp why this moment carries so much weight, you have to rewind to GloRilla's rise. Her story is one of hip-hop's rawest come-ups in recent memory. Straight out of Memphis, grinding with unapologetic music that spoke to the streets and beyond. She didn't just make hits, she became the voice of a movement. So when Yo Gotti signed her, it wasn't just a contract. It was a cultural statement. It said CMG wasn't stuck in the old formula. It was about evolution, about bringing new energy and new power into the family. GloRilla's signing wasn't just another addition to the CMG roster, it was symbolic. When Yo Gotti stamped his approval on her, he was sending a message. CMG wasn't only about proven heavyweights like Moneybagg Yo or 42 Dugg. It was about investing in the next generation, artists with the hunger and fire to push Memphis forward into a new era. But CMG has never been just a record label. It's been built like a family, with loyalty and trust as its foundation. That's why the moment Gotti's mother re-emerged with conditions, people paid attention. Her request to meet GloRilla face-to-face wasn't seen as a casual introduction. It was interpreted as a test. Now, depending on how you read it, that move could mean she's simply being protective, making sure her son's empire is surrounded by the right people. Or it could hint at doubt. Doubts about who GloRilla really is. Doubts about whether she fits the image of the legacy her son has been carefully building. And here's where the complication sets in. Put yourself in GloRilla's shoes. You've been grinding non-stop. Studio sessions, tours, interviews, features, all while carrying the CMG flag. Your loyalty is public. Your hustle undeniable. You've become one of the faces of the label. And then, word gets back to you that Yo Gotti's own mother isn't sure about you. That she wants to sit across the table, stare you down, and decide if you're worthy of being considered family. That would sting. It wouldn't feel like a critique of your music or your work ethic. It would feel personal. Like your place in this empire is being judged not on your grind, but on perception. On whispers. On doubt. For an artist like GloRilla, who's built her entire career on being raw, authentic, and unapologetic, the idea of having to prove herself to anyone feels like a slap in the face. She isn't wired to water down her personality or play fake just to gain approval. So hearing that Yo Gotti's own mother wants to sit her down and size her up? That's the kind of thing that could spark real frustration. According to people close to the situation, Glo has already been asking the tough questions behind the scenes. Why is this energy aimed at her specifically? Who's been shaping Gotti's mom's opinion? And that's where Angela Simmons steps into the frame. Angela isn't just some casual girlfriend. She's a businesswoman, a media personality, and someone who comes from a legacy of her own. Ever since she and Gotti went public, her presence has been impossible to ignore. She's been right next to him at events, sharing affectionate posts, and playing the role of supportive partner in full view of the media. On the surface, it looks like love, and maybe it is. But the real question is, how much influence does Angela have behind closed doors? Some fans are convinced Angela isn't GloRilla's biggest fan. Maybe she doesn't vibe with Glo's unapologetically wild style. Maybe she feels that raw Memphis energy doesn't fit the polished image she envisions for Gotti's empire. Or maybe it's simply a clash of personalities. Whatever the reason, suspicion is bubbling that Angela may have been the one whispering concerns to Gotti's mom, intentionally or not, planting seeds of doubt about whether GloRilla truly belongs in the family fold. The whispers of doubt surrounding GloRilla didn't sit quietly. Once she heard about Yo Gotti's mom's condition, it didn't take long for her to connect the dots in her own mind. To Glo, it began to look like Angela was pulling strings behind the scenes, subtly shaping how Gotti's mother viewed her, and in turn, influencing the energy inside the entire CMG household. But let's not forget the mother's perspective here. From her point of view, this isn't about drama, it's about protection. She's watched her son navigate an industry full of opportunists, people who smile for the cameras while plotting their own agenda. To her, GloRilla is simply another new face in her son's orbit. As a mother, she feels it's her duty to make sure the people close to him are solid. For her, wanting to meet GloRilla face-to-face could just be about energy, getting that intuitive read only a mom can get. Here's the catch, though. In hip-hop, perception carries as much weight as reality. What looks like a harmless maternal instinct to one person feels like a loaded test to another. For GloRilla, it doesn't feel neutral. It feels like suspicion, like she's being singled out. And once the idea of Angela's involvement creeps into the picture, the narrative shifts. What might have been a simple family check-in suddenly transforms, in GloRilla's eyes, into a political game inside CMG. And that's what makes this moment so fragile. What could be interpreted as nothing more than a mother protecting her son's empire is now tangled up in whispers of influence, loyalty, and inner circle power moves. And now, social media has its hands all over this story. The moment whispers of tension surfaced, the online crowd split straight into camps. Some fans are calling Angela out, insisting she needs to keep her distance from CMG business. To them, she's not an A&R, not management, just Gotti's girlfriend. In their eyes, she shouldn't be steering conversations about the label's future or its artists. On the flip side, plenty of people are stepping up to defend Angela Simmons. They argue that if she truly cares about Gotti, then of course she's going to have opinions about who's in his circle. Love doesn't exist in a vacuum. When you're deeply invested in someone's life, especially a partner who is not only a man but a brand, a business, and an empire, it's natural to speak up when you see things you agree with or disagree with. To her supporters, Angela having an opinion isn't evidence of manipulation, it's evidence of involvement, of commitment. From their perspective, people criticizing her for voicing concerns are ignoring the reality that relationships and business inevitably overlap when you're tied to someone in the public eye. But that hasn't silenced the other side of the debate. The loudest critics argue Angela's influence is spilling too far beyond the boundaries of her role. She's not an A&R. She's not part of CMG's management team. She doesn't have a track record of building artists, curating rosters, or developing talent. She's Gotti's girlfriend, and to them, that's where her influence should stop. The fear isn't just that she has opinions, it's that those opinions might be shaping major decisions about the direction of CMG. In an industry where trust is currency, even the appearance of that kind of influence can send shockwaves. And then there's GloRilla, standing right in the eye of the storm. Depending on who you ask, she's either overreacting or rightfully standing her ground. Her critics see her frustration as misplaced. They say she's allowing personal emotions to cloud the bigger picture. Instead of focusing on her music, her growing fan base, and her role as one of CMG's breakout stars, she's getting caught up in speculation. To them, that looks like insecurity, a dangerous trait when you're in the cutthroat world of hip-hop. But just as many people see it differently. They argue that GloRilla's feelings are valid, and dismissing them as overreacting ignores the pressure she's under. She's not just another artist trying to make a name for herself, she's already made it. She's the face of a new era at CMG, carrying both the hype and the responsibility that come with being the breakout female star on a male-dominated roster. When you've proven your loyalty, sacrificed your time, and shown up for the label in every possible way, it's natural to feel disrespected if the people closest to your boss, his family, his partner, are questioning whether you belong. For Glo, the issue isn't just about one meeting with Gotti's mom. It's about perception. It's about whether she's truly seen as family, or just an asset to be used as long as the hits keep coming. This clash of perspectives is why the conversation has become so polarized. Each side genuinely believes they are protecting something sacred. GloRilla supporters feel like they are defending authenticity, the idea that someone who's worked this hard shouldn't have to beg for acceptance from insiders. Angela's defenders, on the other hand, feel like they are defending love and partnership, the right of a woman to look out for the man she cares about. And then there's Gotti's mom, who, in her own way, represents loyalty. Her stance is rooted in the belief that family must always protect the house, even if that means putting outsiders through a test. What makes the situation explosive is that all three forces, love, loyalty, and legacy, are colliding at the same time. Angela is trying to define her place in Gotti's world. GloRilla is trying to solidify her place in CMG's family. And Gotti's mother is trying to preserve the empire she watched her son build from the ground up. These aren't small matters. In hip-hop, perception creates reality, and reality shapes business. If fans begin to believe CMG is fractured from the inside, it could change the way the brand is seen, not just by the public, but by other artists considering signing with them. And this is where social media pours fuel on the fire. Every tweet, every TikTok clip, every Instagram comment has turned this into more than just a private disagreement. Fans are dissecting Angela's every post, reading between the lines of GloRilla's lyrics, and analyzing every move Gotti makes in public. In today's culture, narratives don't stay in the boardroom or at the dinner table. They are spun, magnified, and weaponized online. The result is a digital jury, with fans playing judge and executioner in real time. It's easy to forget, in all the noise, that this is about real people. GloRilla, at her core, is a young woman navigating fame and success at a dizzying pace. Angela is still figuring out what it means to balance love with influence in a high-profile relationship. And Gotti's mother is simply doing what mothers do, trying to protect her son from harm, whether real or imagined. Yet when you place these dynamics inside the high-pressure world of hip-hop, where every relationship doubles as a business decision, the stakes become enormous. At the end of the day, this isn't just gossip. It's a case study in how loyalty, love, and business collide in the music industry. It's about how artists, partners, and family members interpret influence differently, and how quickly those interpretations can spiral into public spectacle. Whether you side with Angela, GloRilla, or Gotti's mom, one thing is clear. The balance inside CMG is fragile. And the way this plays out could define not just GloRilla's future with the label, but CMG's reputation as a family-driven dynasty.